What's up, Plant Junkies? Jody here for another plant video from plantjunkiecreations.com. Today I'm going to be going over the basic plant care of this beautiful trailing succulent known as the Rhipsalis Pilocarpa. I'm also going to give you guys some tips on how I successfully propagated her. What's unique about this plant is she's a tropical epiphytic succulent, which means that she grows under the canopies of wood-like structures in the tropics. So she develops these aerial roots that are white, which then attach to wood structures, and she starts trailing from there. So I'm just going to zoom her in so you can take a closer look. And she's just unique, very fuzzy-like branches. This is her newest growth. And she's really easy to propagate. And when she flowers on the tips here. It reminds me a lot of like the mistletoe cactus as far as like this fragile white flower-like situation. After the flowering, she produces berries which are edible, but I don't highly recommend that, and you can also propagate by the seeds from that too. The light requirement for this plant can tolerate low to bright indirect light, but she thrives best in that medium indirect light. The water requirement for this plant, you'll typically want to water on a weekly basis. This plant is somewhat drought tolerant, so you can get away with being late on watering. Some signs of when you're not watering enough is you'll see these branches starting to wrinkle, but you'll want to avoid that. The soil requirement for this plant appreciates a well-draining mix, and what I like to use is this basic organic succulent mix. The fertilizer requirement, you typically want to fertilize 2 times a month during the growing season, and what I like to use, I dilute to 1/4, which is orchid bloom. This is an all-around well fertilizer for your succulents, for your orchids, for your cactuses. The propagation of this plant I found to be really easy, and the method that I chose was to propagate in water. Some tips that I have when propagating are you basically can propagate anywhere on this plant. You can propagate, you can take a cutting right here. You can take a cutting on so you have like 3 sticking out, or you can take a propagation right here at the tip. It really does not matter. The important part of propagating is to take your cutting and let it callus for a day or 2, and then just stick it in water. If you find that it hasn't calloused enough, and starts rotting, you can actually cut that off, let it dry out again, and start over. So here are some propagations I have taken. I have put in water, and about after 3 weeks they developed roots, just depending on the season of when you're propagating. You can just leave them in water for a long time and eventually they will develop roots. So these are just a lot of single cuts that I have taken, and she's already putting off new growth right here at the tip. And this one is for sale at my shop. It's 2 cuttings with 2 branches, and then this one has 3 branches. So once you develop roots in the water, you're going to want to acclimate it to soil. So what I like to use is that organic cactus succulent mix. I just pot her up in here. I like to use a small terracotta pot so she doesn't stay wet for too long, and I water her on like a 3 to 5 day cycle. When I notice the top of the soil dry, I will water her. And I also place her in kind of like a medium light situation so she can focus on root development opposed to photosynthesizing and growing. She needs to focus on making home in this pot. So place her in a lower light area and just be sure to water her as soon as you see that surface dry, because those water roots do need to acclimate to that soil. And about after a month, you can get away with watering her on a weekly basis. And that's it. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to click on that like button. Also, if you're interested in plant care content, click on that icon to subscribe to my channel.